Call to order this meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. I would invite you to rise for invocation from David Almazar of Canyon Community Baptist Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning, sir.
Let's pray. Father, we come to you. We thank you for this privilege and opportunity of prayer. We know that you hear and answer our prayers. We do thank you for the moisture we received yesterday. We pray for those people that might have gotten damaged because of it, and just be with them. Now for this particular meeting, again, you're watching over it. Give each of the commissioners wisdom as they deal with the different issues. We just thank you again that you watch and care for each one of us. In Jesus' precious name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Payne.
Present.
Commissioner McFall.
Present.
Commissioner Bell.
Present.
County Attorney Jackson.
Present.
County Manager Bryant.
Present.
Planning and Zoning Director Koch.
Present.
Thank you. Next, we move on to the approval of agenda. I'm not aware of any changes.
I also think that our agenda looks fine the way it is this morning. Mr. Chair, I move to approve today's agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Move on to the consent agenda. I want to note that there is no scheduled public hearings in the near future.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Move on to administrative and informational reports. First up is the County Treasurer Semi-Annual Report and Public Trustees Quarterly Report. With us this morning, Kathy Elliott. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Regarding the semi-annual report, not a lot to address there. We are approximately $600,000 less overall. Most of that is self-insurance fund. We had some huge claims that we've paid out the first part of this year. But that seems to be tapering off. But other than that, that's about it on that.
Okay, and then you had
The
Public Trustees Quarterly Report.
Yep, we released 445 deeds of trust. We started 16 foreclosures. That brings us to a total of 42 foreclosures as of the end of June. That's one more than we had last year at this time. And we finished 2017 at 94, so we're right around
Okay.
probably that for this year.
Now, we got a couple of questions on this special review that we paid for. It was by Logan and Associates. Kyle Logan did that. He recommended that all bank reconciliations be reviewed by someone independent of the person preparing them. Can you give us an update on that?
Yes, at this point, I am doing the reconciliations and Kelly Janice is verifying them. That is at this point getting her familiar with what they look like and how they are entered in. And then after things calm down, we are going to get her into doing the reconciliations, but that will also take her out of the daily work, because I believe, as do several other county treasurers, that there is a line of accountability, and the person doing the daily work that's handling the cash, handling the checks, should not, and doing the deposits, should not be the person doing the reconciliations. That's why I have stepped back from the daily work, because I am doing the reconciliations.
So Kathy, along those lines, just for clarification, what is the logic behind that? If there's somebody ultimately reviewing the work, so say that Kelly was the one that was actually performing those reconciliations and you were reviewing them and signing off on that, that's that double check. So I guess I'm a little bit confused as to why she couldn't perform those reconciliations and also do the daily work, because you would still be reviewing those as the supervisor.
Okay, but then you've also gone a month with what what has transpired, and then you're trying to figure out how this all happened, where I don't have that issue at this point, but I mean, it's something we can look at, but at this point, the line of accountability is huge for me in that office, and I will follow his recommendations, and I will get her trained in how to do those, and then I will be reviewing them.
Okay. In that review, Kyle Logan also recommended that journal entries not be used. Can you give us an update on when journal entries are still being used and why?
Journal entries at this time are being used solely for transferring of treasurer's fees from our special assessments to general fund on a monthly basis. They're being done for transferring money from the warrant account from the operating account when we pay the bills, and then for payroll.
But he recommended they not be used. Is that correct? In
That is
his
correct.
review. Okay. Are we making any headway as far as trying to get away from that, or is this just how you're going to do it then?
Well, I am hoping that once we get the import going on from the finance office into our side, that will cut back on a lot of those.
Okay. Well, I do know Kelly's been working hard with the finance office and trying to reconcile you guys, the two offices. So I do commend her on that. Anybody else have any other comments or questions?
Sure, I got a couple also. Mr. Logan also recommended that you begin the process of documenting the procedures performed in recording transactions in the treasurer's side of the accounting system. So have those procedures been documented? Are you working on that?
Yes. Yeah.
Is it done or you're working on it now?
We are working on it.
Okay.
As I am doing the processes because they are what I have done for 14 plus years. I am documenting them. The next month Kelly does them, and if we need to make adjustments to how things are being done, then we make those adjustments. Then the next month she does them with those adjustments. If everything runs smoothly, that gets uploaded into our policy manual on Tyler. So yes.
On Tyler?
Yes.
Okay. Also, are the reconciliations of the bank statements being done in the accounting system, like not Mr. Logan, but John Cutler and Associations have recommended in the last 4 audits? Is that being done?
All but the 2, which is the finance office and DHS, that are the problems that we are having with the import. We have talked about writing out the checks. There's a lot of room for error writing out checks. I do not have the staff to write out 300 and some odd checks a month for the 2 offices. So we are looking at either our office changing our fund numbers, because there are counties that use the actual software to do this. But if our office or the finance office can change the funds that we need to import, then we can get them to work, and then we can import them, and then we can be able to do them online, the software generated reconciliations.
So it sounds like there still is a lot of work that's ongoing and some things that are being changed and looked at, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So Kathy, I'm sorry, Commissioner, I'm curious about that. You said change the names of the accounts? It
Not
doesn't.
change the names, it's change the numbers. For example, our general fund has always been 0010, the first 4 digits.
Okay.
In the finance office, it's 0001.
It's just 01, and I think that's where I've always been confused with that, is we have completely different accounting number structures.
So it doesn't matter what you call it if you put it in the right place when it's transferred over, in other words, then. So changing those, that's why I'm curious. I don't think changing those numbers is going to affect that.
Yes, it will affect that if our numbers are matching. The problem is if the treasurer's office changes theirs, they're going to have to do some kind of software update that's going to tie in any other transactions we've previously done in that fund to read it as their ones. That's the hang up that we're at as of now, and that was as of last Thursday
So
when I talked.
But Tyler can do that, is that correct, Sonny? That Tyler has the technology to be able to do that?
So what we had actually suggested in this interim is that we put something in Excel to where it basically does it's called an if-then statement. So if it's one account number, then Excel will turn it into something different. And so we, at any point, could try this to see if this is truly the end result, and that's not happened. So we're kind of waiting on that. Charlene has already spoken to our IT department. They're more than happy to help us with that process to get that going, because I still, like I said, and you had made the comment earlier that there are counties that are currently doing this. Have you come across any counties where their finance department is using Encode version 10 and it's working with the treasurer's office?
I haven't asked that specifically, but I have asked Philip why we would have import warrants if we're not able to use it. And I had asked him specifically if there's counties that are doing this and how they're able to do it.
And who's Philip?
Philip Kerr is the accounting software specialist with Tyler.
Okay. We're not here to beat you up. We're trying to find solutions. So, okay.
Well, I am too.
Because
I'm on the phone with him or
Yeah.
emailing him on
Yeah.
every couple days. So
Because we did spend a lot of money on this review, so we just want to make sure we're moving forward on that. Anybody else have any more comments?
I got one more question for you. Are all the transactions occurring in the current period to make the bank reconciliations accurate?
they are. The only time that they have not since February was this last month with the airport, and that had been addressed at a meeting with Tim and Sunny. I was not able to get the information from Wes. If I don't have that information, I can't hold up
Right.
getting monthly distribution out for one deposit.
So that's
So
also
it did not get
to
there.
add to that is if all the other departments are giving you the information in a timely manner as well, that's another step in this. Is it going a lot better than it has been?
Yeah, because
Good.
I get information now online from the state of money coming in, and I immediately, the day I get those, or if it's on a Friday, the first time I can, I get those out to the departments and have them code them for me of where they need to go.
Okay. Anybody else have anything else for the county treasurer?
Thank you. Keep making strides. It's
Yep,
getting better.
yep,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Mr. Chair, I move to accept the county treasurer's semi-annual report and public trustees' quarterly report.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bell,
Aye.
Commissioner McFall,
Aye.
Commissioner Payne,
Aye.
motion carries.
Move on to county manager's report. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
So I
Hi,
have
Sunny.
just a couple of quick items on the manager's piece, and then I'll roll into the sales and use tax report. So as everybody is aware and was discussed earlier, we have experienced quite a bit of flooding throughout the county. So we have quite a few county roads that are either closed right now or are very limited in use. So just be patient. Our crews are out and they're very diligently working on getting everything back to where it was. Unfortunately, we're going to see rain not unfortunately, we're going to see rain, which is a great thing. We've all been praying for rain, but hopefully that won't continue to cause issues on the roads. And
Maybe we prayed a little too hard.
so the next item, we, as I mentioned the last week, and the commissioners may bring up a little bit more of this, we have the county fair starting July 27th. So there's a lot of different events that are going on over the next couple of weeks. So you can get the fair schedule at www.fremontcountyfair.com. And it has a list of everything that's scheduled over the next couple of weeks. There's events both at the rodeo grounds and at Pathfinder Park. So go on to that website for that list. And then the last thing I wanted to bring up is, as I've discussed many times here, we have received the EPA grant to assess the brownfields in the county. And so it actually is effective on October 1st. So we're working with a company and with the EPA group to assess properties, and so that's all going to be coming up. We'll be reaching out and having a couple of public meetings as well. So I just wanted to remind everybody that that's coming up. And then I'll move into the sales tax. So for the retail sales tax collections in the month of May, We received $447,659, which is up $29,849 from May of last year. Year to date, we're up $86,236. In the auto use tax collections, in June, we received $85,544, which is down slightly from June of last year. But year to date, we're up $60,609. In the construction use tax collections, in the month of June, we received $17,432. And we did find where there was a month where Canyon City had reported and that wasn't on one of the prior months. So when we fixed that, in the past couple months, we were showing that we were actually down in comparison to last year, but we're actually slightly up by $14,754 from prior years. In the lodging tax collections in the month of May, we received $2,433, but as I remind everybody that this is a quarterly reporting, so our next report will be the reports through June. And so right now we're down 1,920 from last year. And then on the sheriff's 1% retail sales tax, in the month of May, we received $298,440, which is up $19,899 from last year. And year to date, we are up $57,491. In the sheriff auto use tax collection, it was slightly down in the month of June at $57,030, which is $7,619 from June of last year. And year to date, we're up $40,346. And then the construction use tax came in at $11,622, which is up $699, and year to date we're up $9,715. So overall, things are looking good. Believe it or not, we are at the process where I'll be sending out budget templates here in the next couple weeks. So it's hard to believe we're already talking 2019 budget, but right now we're on track as far as our 2018 revenues.
All right, any questions for Sunny?
No, thank you, Sunny.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to, anybody has any reports, anything to say?
I got a couple things I want to say. Sonny hit on it, but the fair does start this Friday, actually, with the junior rodeo out at Pathfinder Park, and then the ranch rodeo following on Saturday, and I believe it's only like $5, I believe, to get in. So everybody come out and enjoy the fair kickoff. And as of 8 o'clock this morning, the sheriff has went back to stage 1 fire restrictions, which does loosen up the restrictions a little bit, but still be very diligent out there. We've got some rain, but it's still very, very dry, and accidents can happen. So if you are going to do some burning, call the fire departments, call the sheriff's department, and make sure it's okay to do that. Appreciate that.
Okay. Commissioner Bell?
I think everything I was going to say already has been mentioned, so thank you.
Well, along with the sheriff, also it's my understanding that Florence and Kane City Fire Departments also went to stage 1, so in conjunction with the sheriff. And I went out and did some driving about 6 o'clock this morning, look at some of the flood damage, and not quite like the 1965 flood, but it's getting up there. It's, I guess that dates me, but anyway, we'll move on. Citizens who wish to address the commissioners on a matter not scheduled on the agenda. Anybody have anything that's not on the agenda? I don't see a flood of people coming up, so we'll move on. No old business to consider. Move into new business, a presentation of the joint land use study, and we have Brian Potts and Ann Warner for the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So I have a little PowerPoint presentation to go along with this. To give you some background, we started this project back in the fall of 2015, and it's one of the largest joint land use study programs, and I'm going to go over what a joint land use study is for those that aren't familiar. But we are currently in a process where we're starting to draft the document, and we're starting to ask for some sort of final public input before we release the draft for public input. So we're trying to get as much public input as we can through this process. So if go ahead to the next slide. So this is a community-driven process. Looks like I want to apologize. It looks like some of the font didn't turn up right, so I apologize for the There have been over 120 joint land use studies done throughout the country, and essentially what they are is in communities where you have a military presence, military installations, and there's communities that are close by, frequently you have some impact from military operations, and then also conversely, some impacts from community development that may impact military operations. And therefore, this is an opportunity to kind of study what are those issues, where are there places where it's intersecting in terms of land use, development, other resource use, and then identifying recommendations on how to move forward if there are some issues that the community and the military can work together. It also is a chance to identify where things are working well and where there's just room for improvement. So this study, when it's complete, is going to provide a roadmap for all 4 counties and the communities within that are a part of the study area. So it's Fremont County, El Paso County, Teller County, and Pueblo County. And that's because primarily, of course, down here, like a lot of other counties, Fort Carson does a lot of in-air operations with helicopters, and there's also some mutual aid agreements between Fort Carson and the surrounding jurisdictions when it comes to things like wildfire. Put that next slide. So again, here's the study area. Couple notes, Pueblo Army Depot is not included in this study just because it's a smaller operation. There wasn't as much going on right around it. But we've included the other 5 installations, Fort Carson, U.S. Air Force Academy, Schriever Air Force Base, Peterson Air Force Base, and Cheyenne Mountain Air Force Station. Next slide. So for most of the region, there is some level of growth occurring. A lot of it is occurring, of course, within urban areas. But in some cases, whether it's close to the installation, away from the installation, that can have an impact on operations if there's certain landing areas or places, airports, that the military has been using. Of course, Fort Carson uses the Fremont County Airport to do refueling, to do stopovers, various operations there. So that's an important airport. A lot of the airports, there's civilian airports within our 4-county region, do get used by the military to some extent, whether it's by the Air Force or by the Army. We expect that operations are going to continue to increase. Fort Carson recently was looking to attract another air brigade that was going to be another 1,800 personnel. And so we expect that's going to continue. Same thing with Peterson. They're ramping up. That may mean attraction of new flight operations, which could be utilizing the airspace overhead. So therefore, one of the things that we see is important is, of course, the value of that economic development to our communities. We don't have this board in the packet that I provided in front of you, but we do have the board up here, so I apologize it's not in there. But there's an additional 3 boards that we need to put in that packet. What that packet reflects is what's online. It's 32 boards that we took at some various public input meetings thus far. We're going to be attending the Fremont County Fair to try and engage some of the rural folks that probably experience overflight. So we will be at that fair, and we'll pay the $5 if we have. On the Fremont County Board, one of the things, these boards are here for you to look at after the meeting. We also have 2 boards that are up front that didn't quite fit inside. But out of the 32 boards, we've tried to pull out the ones that really pertain to Fremont County. And you'll note on the economic impact, it's not reflected up there, is that there's 180, as of 2015, a military study that was done, that's the most recent one. There were 188 jobs associated with military that are residents of this county, which amounts to $4 million in earnings. So we expect that as military operations continue, that could continue. People live in Penrose and travel up to Fort Carson commute, so there is a good interaction there. Also, we found that convoys frequently pass through your county, and so therefore the roadways and coordination with CDOT is important to keep those transportation connections intact and maintained. Next slide, please. So at this point, so these are some of the steps we've already done. We've done some land use assessment. We've looked at operational footprints from the military operations, various community impacts that may be affecting military operations, talking to stakeholders. We've held hundreds of meetings between one-on-ones, public meetings, and so on. And we've made some phone calls. We talked with the Colorado Department of Corrections and federal prison to just see if there are any issues. And we did identify that there, from what your planning department had mentioned, that there had been incidents where helicopters have landed close to the corrections facilities, and that caused some concern. And so we did talk with them. They said that hasn't happened in a long time, according to the correction facilities, but they believe that they've been in good communication with the military. So we're going to bolster that with this study to make sure that we continue to avoid that potential incident. And then, yes, go ahead to the next slide. So yeah, we've held a lot of meetings. We're trying to incorporate citizen input throughout this process. Tim Payne is our vice chair of the policy committee, so he's been involved with this process throughout. And we are at a point now where we've provided an 80% draft to the military installations. They're going through it to make sure that the terminology that we've gotten their operations right. We've already gotten some comments back, no, we don't have that operation anymore, or we have this many aircraft, so we're working through that right now. And then it'll go to our technical committee, which is the planners from the various jurisdictions. They'll review it and then get it to the policy committee members made up of local elected officials. And then we're going to get it to the public for public comment before we finalize the study. So at this point in time, go ahead, next slide, please. I've already kind of covered this, so I'm going to keep going. So the recommended strategies that will be out there, we'll be looking for public input on those. We've done a lot of public input so far. We're in kind of the latter stages of that. But the one thing I want to really point out is that we're going to keep these presentation boards online in sort of an online open house format with ongoing comments as people want to provide comments. So you can go on to the website there, ppacg.org, military /public input, and the boards are up there, and there's comment windows where people can put in comments, questions, and there's questions on each board that we're hoping the public will answer. Mainly, where does the public see their role in assisting with some of these issues? So, next slide. So we've already gotten a lot of input from the public already, and kind of the highlights are everyone is supportive of the military. We've been getting that. They're just saying, okay, there's these minor issues, whether it's hearing Fort Carson artillery training, maybe if they're close to the boundary. Sometimes if they just move there, it's a little shocking at first, and then they get used to it. So a lot of it seems to be just helping the public understand what the military does in the area and what you may experience if you're going to live in certain areas around the installations. And just by providing that information, that seems to be the thing that people want. They just want to know, oh, what is going on? And most of it's out of curiosity. Same thing with wildfire and stormwater or airspace. People want to know, how is the military partnering with our communities on wildfire? There are a lot of mutual aid agreements in the area, and many people are not aware of that the military does help us out when there is a critical incident. So on to the next slide, please. So yeah, the key questions as you're looking through the boards, those are the key things to hone in on. And then, so this is what we were presenting, is that when we're going out to these public input meetings, we're trying to just listen and hear what people say and provide as much information as possible. Next slide. So again, apologize for this getting jumbled up. This always happens when you do a PowerPoint on a different system. Sometimes it doesn't show up the way you expected. Feel free to get in touch with us, or if you're the information's in that packet if you have any questions. But we expect that we're going to have this wrapped up by the end of October. That's what we're trying to do. If we need to go over a little bit, the feds have said yes, we can go over a little bit, but we're trying to get it done by October. So we expect that we'll have a full draft out for public review and for your review in the September to October timeframe. So, any questions?
Okay.
I just have one clarification. The rodeo costs $5. The fair is free for everyone.
Oh, there we go. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Good. And if we bring our boards to the rodeo, no one's going to pay attention. They're going to be watching the horses, so for the bulls.
I do have a quick question.
Yes.
So it's my understanding that this is more of an ad hoc group, and once you have your final document completed, and whether it's going to be accepted, adopted, approved, whatever that is going to look like, then the group will disband, or will there be continuing ongoing work in the future and any reason to continue meeting?
Yeah, what we're looking at, and this is something that we've gotten from the committee the last couple meetings that we've had when we start to address this issue, is that we took the temperature on what was the desire to continue on. Because these are recommended strategies that are going to come out of this, so therefore the document is just accepted. It's nothing that's regulatory, so there's no formal approval of it other than acceptance. But both technical and policy committees reflected that they do want to continue to meet to focus on these issues because it is important to our region, and they found this body to be very useful in terms of understanding what is going on in other parts of this region, understanding what's going on with the military. The military is at these meetings, representatives, so they're able to have that dialogue, and then also communities learning from other communities. So it's been found to be of great value, and so what we've been directed is that they would like to continue as an implementation committee after to start tackling some of the critical issues that will help support our military and also deal with critical issues in our communities. So this should be something that will be ongoing as long as there is a desire to do so.
That makes me really happy to hear that, Brian, because too often, studies are done and they go into a great big thick book and it goes
Yes.
up on the bookshelf and it stays there to collect dust.
Exactly.
And nothing ever happens with it. So that would be, I think, our best desire would be that something actually will take place and that there will be implementation of the things that are being recommended throughout this process.
Yes.
So.
And the staff that's on the JLS team, even though we're at PPACG, which is different Council of Governments, we're still here to facilitate with all the communities that are involved in this and to partner with the local COGs. So we will continue to do so as we have funding to do so.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
As Brian said, I was part of the policy committee from the Fremont County. Marshall Butler from our planning and zoning was on the technical committee. And I haven't attended every meeting. I missed the last one, something to do with a heart attack. I don't it was
Excuses,
lame.
excuses.
Yeah, pretty lame excuse, but anyway, it's a good group. Got a lot done. You learn a lot. Found out they can't fly low over Phantom Canyon, be something to do with a spotted owl. And so, there's different factors that came into a lot of decisions. And my biggest thing was the flights over Penrose, and affecting the Penrose folks. And so if they could limit that, and that was my input on that. And plus the ranchers out west, when they were doing touch and goes, you get young guys with testosterone looking at a herd of cattle with a big old helicopter going, well, that might be fun. And so, anyway, it's been a lot of interesting discussions, and I appreciate your input and all your efforts on this, Brian.
And
You bet.
thanks to Fremont County's representatives for participating in this. Thank you.
All right. Anybody have any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. The hour reached 10 o'clock. We're going to go into public hearings. First one is OPC 14-011, Pure Medical. It's a modification of premises. And I believe with us we have Jason Vanstrom. Come on up and tell us what you got.
How are we doing today, Commissioners? My name is James Marks. I'm here representing Pure Medical. Jason Vanstrom. I'm here for you guys.
Good morning.
Morning.
So we are looking to put up a 90 by 60 building, not 65. Sorry for the late admission of the building plans. We're working with a couple architects to figure out what the exact dimensions would be. The proposal that we had that was probably just given to you last week, that is the building that we are looking at aesthetically and everything. It's to match other similar buildings on the property. This building will also provide better street coverage or blockage of the outdoor grow, so improving security, things of that nature. This building is to help us in our operations year-round. We recently got rid of our other indoor facility in the Springs, which is used primarily a lot to propagate our outdoor crop. That's where a lot of our clones come from. They get transported down, and that's what helps to fill that out. That building is no longer there, so we're looking to have a place where we can do that propagation from. We understand the board's hesitance to, admit these, but in all of the past, every time we've ever come before you and proposed something, any reservations that you have had have never really materialized. We've operated complaint-free. We always try to work with you guys. I'm down here all the time working with Matt. Any problems that you guys have, I address immediately. This building will also be odor mitigated. There's no cooling walls, no large openings, no windows, no cause for any light leak, anything like that. We are going to be using the same odor mitigation as in the other buildings, so we're not emitting any of the fragrance sprays or anything like that. We're actually scrubbing the particles out of the air. So we took that into consideration. We're not trying to dump a bunch of just perfumes into the air around us. So that's about that. This building's also going to provide a lot of jobs. It's jobs for the community, which is growth. That's always something that's what's good for a community, you know, and, yeah,
Okay.
that's about it.
All right, any questions this time? Okay. Staff report, Matt?
All right, the property was posted, the notice was published in the local paper. Code enforcement visits the site at least once a week. They have not had any substantiated complaints. There is some transient odors, but they are transient and they do not meet the threshold through the testing, so there is no violations that have been found on the site. There are 3 contingencies. If this is approved, there will be a certificate of occupancy for the new building. The second one is proof that the odor mitigation was installed and running properly, and an updated water letter from the Penrose Water District. This does not increase their plant count. They are still required to grow within the buildings and the fenced area. So this doesn't increase their grow area. They're limited to the number of customers and clients that they have to grow. So that's what limits their plant count. So we are not designating any substantial plant count increase or anything of that nature. This is just increase in facilities to allow them to work their product on site. Other than that, if you have any questions.
So whether they have 300 plants or 1,000 plants, it's driven by their,
So, you're addressing the complaint, one of the complaints that was put in. So, most of that isn't even accurate. When we first applied, we applied for the entire fenced-in area. Due to a miscommunication of what is considered a cultivation limited access area, and when I actually came up here to speak before you, we kind of did that in stages. We had always had the fenced-in area, but you guys allowed it, or put us on probation period to expand into the other part, just because we weren't sure how the smell was going to affect the community, everything like that. When we made that expansion, we had no complaints. You know, all that cultivation space has been there since 2015. That's what we proposed, and we took steps with the county to progress into it, grow into it, I guess you could say. So, but as far, I mean, our plant count has remained the same for the last few years. And right now we have 3 licenses on that facility. One of them will be terminating in October, I believe. So we're going to be letting that one go aside. But by putting this building in, it does not increase our plant count by any means. We are only allowed to grow relative to the amount of patients that we have for our centers. And for the most part, we're able to maintain the same number.
And that's a state license you're letting go, not a county license.
Exactly, yes.
okay, so you mentioned you had a facility in Colorado Springs or up in El Paso County. And now, did you start plants there and then bring them down here? Is that what you did, or what?
I started the cuttings. So you can only transport clones. You can't do actual plants. So we take all of our cuttings. They're all just little starters. Those all get transported down from that facility down to here. The facility, this is actually a smaller facility than what we had in the Springs. So it's a smaller building. We're managing the space a lot more effectively. This building will also help us to manage some of the water better too. Any water that I can pull off this building and claim when we're doing our propagation, I can then water out later in the season. So, you know, I come from Las Vegas. Water conservation is a big thing on my part, and we've designed a lot of our systems to conserve. When I actually spoke with the water board, I actually used less water than some citizens or residents in Penrose, let alone the car wash. The car wash, I think, uses almost 250,000 gallons a month, and we don't even come close to that.
Okay,
So,
so you'll need to get an updated water letter from the Penrose Water District.
which we have a letter on this actual particular modification that I got last month in May, or no, back in May. Yeah, a couple months ago now.
Okay, well, the letters we received were all approvals, so we haven't received a denial
Yeah.
on this from the Penrose Water District.
Yeah, I gave
So-
them what my projected consumptions would be with this new building, and yeah, we're still able to maintain that on a 3/4 inch tap. So
One 3/4 inch tap? Is that what you have there?
yes,
So I'm sorry, Matt, I'm a little bit confused. So if you have letters that all are approval, what is the letter that we would be waiting for
That-
from the Water District?
We didn't have the letter at the time of the review. So when I wrote the review, that was a requirement as a contingency. He has submitted it since the review was completed.
Okay,
So we do have that.
okay.
So on this other contingency, Matt, the proof of the odor mitigation was installed and running properly. Does that mean if this expansion is approved on the new building?
Correct. If this is approved, we want those things prior to their operation of the facility. So we need to make sure the odor mitigation is in place and operating correctly before they can start putting plants in there.
And it's the same odor mitigation that's on the current building that's there now?
Yes, yeah, they're charcoal air scrubbers, and then they also have UV and ozone emitters so that it neutralizes any smell past the charcoal filters. I mean, these buildings will probably be emitting cleaner air than they're taking in. So, they're not like the greenhouses this isn't going to be like the greenhouses that you guys see with the big cooling walls or anything like that. This is all AC. It's a sealed building, just like what we've put up in the past, and haven't had any issues.
And then this newer big building, which I was confused because there's two different sizes on the form, and you said a totally different one than those. So it is 90 by 60.
It is 90 by 60, yes.
And there will be no growing in there, it's just for processing.
No, it's stated for vegetation, propagation, flowering, harvesting, drying. It's a multi-use building. The
So-
other big thing too is that this building also is going to provide us with bathrooms, sanitation, better washout areas, sinks, things like that. Right now, we're using the residence that's on the house or on the property for that, and we're trying to transition that out of there and put things into there. It'll also help us be better prepared and for the Pesticide Safety Act, which is providing your workers with adequate equipment and safety stations for washing hands, eye wash stations, things of that nature.
So there was not a restroom built into the new building that's out there now?
No.
Also, can you address, if you're planning to propagate inside the building, then you would be growing adult plants outdoors? Is that correct?
No.
I mean,
Okay, so this-
you would be growing the plants outdoors?
So the outdoor facility fencing facility is going to stay exactly the same way. This new building is to provide the plants to go into it. So they're, with this building basically used to be in Colorado Springs. That's where we cut our clones from, and that's where we'd keep our mother plants that would get large enough that you could take cuttings off of to propagate your outdoor crop.
So another way to ask, I guess, my question is, would this in any way be turning this from a seasonal grow into a year-round grow?
Yes, partially. We have to be able to keep strains alive, our genetics alive. Growing from seed isn't, that's not how we do our cultivation.
How do you get partially out of that? It either is or it isn't, I think.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's going to be plants growing in there, and we'll eventually flower some of them out. Once moms get too big, we'll flower them out and push them through the system. But the overall cultivation space of that building that will be producing a smell is going to be very limited. I mean, we're talking, I want to say maybe 2,000 square feet of it, if that. So the rest of it's vegetation, drying space, office space, storage, bathrooms, and then some of it, But again, we're not increasing the plant count. We're just being able to utilize our existing plant count. Right now, this property shuts down after November. We haven't been doing anything there in the past. So this will allow us to keep our genetics alive and consolidate all of our grows to one property.
So therefore, it becomes a year-round grow.
Yes, but this building isn't like the ones down the street, like the year-round greenhouses that have the clear roofs or anything like that. No light leak, solid odor mitigation, not big potentials for odor to leak out or anything like that.
I'll just apologize. The three of us have no idea how this process works. Okay, you said you don't grow from seed?
No, do not. We take cuttings.
Cuttings.
Just like how people will make cuttings of trees. They take little saplings.
So you take and then stick in the ground. I mean, I'm simplifying it, but
Yep. Yeah, just take a cutting little starter cube that you'd start like vegetables in. It produces a root from there, then you pot it in to the ground or into a 1 gallon pot.
Okay, so what you call the mother plants is what stays in this building.
Yes.
Now, how big do they get then?
I usually grow them about 3 to 4 foot, and then after that once you take so many cuttings off of them, they become kind of a little scraggly and everything, so then we'll either flower them out or terminate them and start over. And you have to just keep your genetics alive.
And how many of those plants do you have?
It varies on how many different strains I have. I have 36 different strains, and I usually try to keep at least 5 to 6 of each strain.
So how does that correlate with patient count? And you have the different steps of growth of these plants.
So the patient count let's just say for argument's sake, our patient count is 3,000. 1,500 per each license. I don't have to grow that much. Like, I don't even actually come close to touching my full plant count. So like, for instance, in that letter where somebody said that we had a 300-foot plant grow and then 1,000 plant grow, the whole time I've been able to grow 3,000 plants. I just haven't, because, I mean, I just don't have that space. But plant count's kind of irrelevant. You know, as a farmer, it always comes down to yield per acre, right? Same thing. We're an agricultural product at the end of the day. We're just another crop. Whether I put 3,000 small plants out in my field or 100 really large plants, it's only what I can grow in those spaces. And as for this new building, a large portion of it's going to be dedicated towards vegging, which is the continued propagation of our strains and plants. It'll vary from time to time depending on how many strains I have and how many of what I'm trying to get out. So.
Okay. Any other questions for Jason at this
Just
time?
one more comment really quick. When this was first submitted, we reviewed it, and there was a question as to lot coverage of all the structures. It was requested that he provide a survey or an ILC or something to help us determine the lot coverage. He did provide that to us, and the lot coverage, it's close. And the agreement and the discussion is that the lot coverage will be met by reducing the canopies if necessary. So just so you're aware of that, that the lot coverage is close right there.
So the purple highlighted area, that's the proposed canopies that we already got approved for. If we have to reduce that to make lot coverage, that's where that reduction will be made.
And they're not built yet.
That's just the canopies.
Yes.
So even if you took away some of the canopies, you can still grow there,
Still grow there. But
just without a canopy on it.
yes. But may I remind you guys, we haven't had the odor complaints, you know, like I've worked hard to make this property fit into the community. I've worked hard to try and fit into this community. I've, worked with the county, volunteered some time. We take this all into consideration. This outdoor grow still comes down at the end of the year and then will remain dormant for half the year.
So you have gotten odor complaints. Maybe they haven't been substantiated by the a level that they have to go to, but the folks that live around there have complained about it because they have to smell it all the time. So I understand their concern.
I understand that, but also some of the complaints, when we've received complaints, we haven't even had a single plant on the property, and none of the complaints that have ever been made have been within any of the bordering residents of us. So,
Well, I know it's hard to dictate the direction that smell's coming from. It may be coming from the neighbor's house rather than your grow, but there have been complaints. They've just not meet the level that the state that these guys use with their sniffer. So,
well, I mean, yes, but again, like I said, some of these complaints have also been put against us when we've literally had nothing on the property. I mean, so it's hard. I mean, hopefully, as county commissioners, you don't hold that against us. I mean, we're fighting some prejudice in this, in a sense. We understand a lot of people don't necessarily want weed in the community, but Penrose is an agricultural community, and where it sits is ideal for water, sunlight, and growing crops. and we are a new crop coming to Penrose, and hopefully to help breathe life into that community.
How many employees do you have right now?
Right now I have about 7. Come harvest time, that'll jump up to around 30. And this new building will provide about 7 additional full-time jobs, with also some harvest work in there as well. Not to also mention, this also helps raise property tax for us that we pay towards the community, or towards the county. Yeah, it provides a lot of my crew frequents a lot of the restaurants and
Okay.
establishments.
Anybody have anything else right now?
Nope.
Okay. This is a public hearing, so I'll open the public hearing. If you want to speak at the public hearing, we need you to fill out a slip and hand it up here, and then state your name and address for the public hearing. So I will now open the public hearing. Do we have anybody that wants to say anything? Come on up. Good morning. Thank you. Clarice Rooney.
My name is Clarice Roney. I live at 856 D Street in Penrose. I live across the street, basically from this place, catty corner off of their back lot. We do smell it. We have not done much in the way of complaining because we know that by the time people get out there with their sniffers, the smell has changed because wind has changed direction. We happen to sit between 2 commercial grows. This one we do not get as much from as we did the one on C Street, that's true, because it's not as large and also because the wind doesn't blow in that direction as much. But when I go down to get my mail, the mailbox smells of marijuana, the mail smells of marijuana. I'm very opposed to having this be extended to where it could be a 12-month grow instead of a summertime crop. I think we have enough out there. I am not for this. I don't see how they're going to contain the odor to the building because you're still going to have doors. The smell is still going to come out. There is going to be more plants in there. I don't see how they're going to increase the year-round jobs that he's speaking of if they're not going to increase the plant count. True, it would be some jobs in building the facility, but that's all I see. I please ask that you stop the growth out there. I am opposed to this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Claire.
Anybody else want to say anything? Come on up, fill out a slip, please. Thank you. Good morning.
I'm just really wanted to say that.
Go ahead and state your name and your address, please.
Sorry, my name is Tyler Hearn. I live at 1321 Park Avenue here in Canyon City. And I'm here really just to say that I do believe that this expansion is going to bring more jobs to the community. I didn't have a job for 3 years because my father passed away, and it was really difficult for me to go out there and find a job where I could feel accepted, not stressed and anxious. And this place has provided me a job, and it feels really good to be back in the community and putting money back in the community. And if this expansion gets put up, there's people that are going to have jobs here instead of in Springs where the building was before. There were people employed in that building doing jobs, and they're going to be down here now doing jobs, spending money here, and I think it'll be good for Penrose. So that's really all I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Thank you.
My name is Scott Weisenberger. I live right next door to the Pure Medical Grow at 428th Street. And I just wanted to say that I don't have any objections. They've always been really excellent neighbors. Maybe I'm in a lucky direction. The wind almost always blows from east to west. But I smell a lot more cow crap out there than I do odor complaints. So, yeah, I'm their closest neighbor and I don't have any objections. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything? Okay, seeing nobody else coming up here, I will now close. Going once, going twice. Close the public hearing. I do want to note, we did receive 5 emails against this, for the record. So I will just note that. So if you want to talk about any of these.
No, I think that's about it.
So I have another question. How do you feel it's going to increase employment to some of their points? If you're not increasing anything in there, is it, I guess because it's year round rather than,
Yeah, it's year round. We still have to maintain the plants. Like I said, it's not increasing the plant count because that plant count goes dormant, you know, during the winter. We're not using it, so we're not increasing the plant count that way. The plant count is dictated by our stores. That is what dictates that.
I'm sorry, is dictated by what?
Our stores.
Stores.
Yes, how many patients we have and how many people sign up. We have some weeks we have a whole bunch of people sign over, and then other weeks we have a whole bunch of people sign over to other facilities, and we lose that plant count. So it's constantly fluxing up and down. So, but this doesn't increase our plant count.
Okay. All right, thank you. Anybody have any other questions, comments? Matt, did you have anything else to add?
No, I brought up the GIS. Claire was up and she was talking about her property, and I was just going to give you an idea of where she was relative to it. Right here is the grow facility, and she lives just right around the corner here. This is her driveway right here. And so that gives you an idea of where she's located. So she is fairly close to the facility.
So now that you have that up, where exactly is the new building looking at?
New building will be right in here.
Right in there. Okay.
But yeah, I'm very confident that this building will not produce an odor. Our building in Colorado Springs never had any complaints. Sat in a very similar area, part industrial, part residential. You know, I mean, we're surrounded. We're in the most heavily industrialized area of Penrose. The first 3 addresses on our street are a body shop, the scrap yard, and a heavy equipment company. You know, like, we're situated in a pretty nice spot.
So just a quick question. Mr. Marks, you are aware that our current regulations do ask for grows and operations for marijuana to be pushed out into unpopulated areas of Fremont County, correct?
I believe so. I didn't know that was
Okay.
the way that you guys actually have it written.
It's the request. It's what
Yes.
we're looking at trying to get done in Fremont County. So
And yeah, I understand that. But on the same note, the reason you guys are requesting that is for odor and the problems that have arisen from some of the facilities. We particularly have not been that problem. You know, we remain very low key. I mean, up until these were actually made public hearings, we actually didn't receive a single complaint. Nobody knew we were there. You know, we operate very on the down low. Like I said, we try to fit into the community, and you know, I think we've done that quite well.
yet this is a huge building that you're asking us to allow you to put up.
To give you an idea, though, this is one we're actually downsizing from the previous building we were in. And not only that, I mean, you're talking the average indoor grow is on the upwards of 20,000 square feet. I mean, there's buildings and grows in Denver that are 70 to 120,000 square feet. Like, this isn't that large of a building.
No, I agree with Commissioner Bell. It is large. This is Penrose we're talking about. This is Fremont County,
We're
not
not
Denver,
talking
not
about Denver.
Colorado Springs.
No, I
So
understand.
it's
I'm saying
huge.
as far as indoor grows go, though, this is considered very small. I mean, almost everybody that's expanding is expanding to much larger facilities when expanding. This is being able to just utilize and keep this
I
property.
think my biggest concern is the increased growth of marijuana, because you're going to increase, you hope, I guess, you're going to increase your production because it's going to be year round, right? So your plant count,
Plants in the building year round, yes.
yeah, your plant count won't increase, but I don't know, I guess the potential for smell year round for these folks that live around there is greater than it is right now, or could be greater.
No, because the building's gonna be odor mitigated. We've already shown in the past that our odor mitigation is not an issue.
Well, Commissioner Bell and I sat through a public hearing 2 years ago when you want your 1,200 square foot building for harvesting. That caused a lot of sleepless nights. Then you came back to us for the structures, and that again caused us a lot of consternation. And now you're back again. It just seems like you just want a little more all the time.
We're asking to grow into the property that we purchased. You know, we're here because of a zoning meeting that allowed us to be there. You know, and you know, we can't go out and get loans from banks like any other business. We have to put up all the capital ourselves for all of our expansions. You know, and so to grow into a property, you know, for us it's a lot more difficult to just show up with all the capital and push it all out there. But the canopy structures, those are our crop insurance in a sense. They're just rain and hail protection. That didn't change any of the aspect of our cultivation.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions or comments? I did close the public hearing, right? Yeah.
I believe you did.
Yes. Okay.
Give me just one moment, please.
Okay.
I will be prepared with a motion. Mr. Chair, I think that we have a lot of things that we still need to consider, including not only your testimony, but the testimony that we also received from others here today, as well as the letters and the emails that we have received. My motion is to table this decision so we can have a decision with findings. And that I'm moving to table until not 10 a.m., but until our next meeting, which is Tuesday, August the 14th at 9:30 a.m.
I will second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to table this till August 14th, that's right?
Yes.
Any further discussion? Is that right?
Yes. According to my calendar.
Okay, well, county manager shaking her head yes, so I guess we're good there. All right, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bell,
Aye.
Commissioner McFall,
Aye.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. We
Thank you.
appreciate your time.
Thank
Okay.
you.
We'll move into our second public hearing. It's Commercial Development Plan 18-003 for Home Nation. This is well, we'll let, do we have Laura Camino here with? Yeah, apparently we do. You
Morning.
let us know what you've got
Good
going on
morning.
here. Good morning. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, so I'm proposing that we have a manufactured home dealership on Warner Road in Penrose. We would have a 32 by 60 office, a 40 by 60 pole barn, and about 5 displays on the property. We are asking to make it able to accept these homes, taking into consideration watershed, which I know has been an issue. We've discussed those issues over the last couple weeks, and I feel like we have a solution for that. That's
Okay.
it.
How many will you have on this lot at one time?
We're looking at about 5 displays.
I'm sorry?
5 displays
Five?
permanently. We may have some homes come in that as sites are getting built, we might have them there temporarily for no more than 30 days, but that will be frequent. That's not something that I want to do.
Okay. All right, anything else for her right now?
Yeah, could you tell us just a little bit about your business? I understand it's more of a family-owned business. It's not a big multinational corporation?
Yes, so it's a family-owned company. My dad started the company in 2007 in Indiana, and he has a dealership there. And we have grown. I have 8 total kids in the family, and almost all of us work in the business, and we're all expanding. My mom has expanded in Florida, my brother in Texas, and I hope to expand here in Colorado. We focus on affordable housing. I'm talking, if you have a piece of property and say you had everything, you could get a home for, say, $60,000 ready to go, we'd send you a home. And so that's really our focus is affordable housing, manufactured primarily, but we also do some modular to developers and investors in Colorado. But our target market is to fill the void for affordable housing that has come from the 2008-2009 decline. So a lot of homes didn't get built, so we're trying to provide for that.
So you would be the local manager, maybe?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
My brother and myself.
Okay.
Okay,
Thanks.
all right. Staff report, Matt.
All righty, the property was posted, the notifications were sent out, and the publication was put in the local paper. This site was originally approved, 6, 7, 8 years ago for a large mini storage facility, all about storage. And so that was never built, so that did go away. With this, this will be the new proposal for that site. The complete application was made. The contingency items are as follows. The first one is compliance with requirements as stated in the letter from the Fremont County Department of Transportation dated 5/30/2018, and that was specifically just a driveway access permit. We need to add contingency item number 2, which would be the letter dated from our county engineer dated 7/3/2018. In that details the drainage requirements. In this case, one of the big issues on that would be that they have to install 2 18-inch culverts cutting across Warner Road. And I believe you know about that and your engineer and everything. And so that's to help with the drainage, and including the drainage from north for the rest of the subdivision along the roadway. So that will improve that scenario there.
Man, when was that letter dated?
7/3. At the Planning Commission meeting, this was recommended for approval unanimously. There were some additional contingencies that they wanted to see. The first was having all the parking areas paved. That'd be a total of 4 parking areas. They wanted to see all of those paved, as well as the requirement of dust suppressant for the gravel parking lot. They also wanted to see that the units on display would be skirted at least towards the highway, so it would look better. It would be more improvement there. And the only other thing was they actually wanted their engineer to provide a statement regarding the depth of the dust suppressant, which would be the gravel, the compacted gravel on the drive area on site. CDOT did review this. CDOT came back and requested that the access from Werner Road to Colorado State Highway 115 be closed. So at some point, CDOT will be out there closing that access off. So their main access will be to the north, right out onto, down to the county road to the north, and then off to Highway 115. So that will be either in and out for all of their units as they bring them in and out.
So Matt, point out exactly where we're at here. You're off of 115, but
This is just north of Bonnie's Car Crusher.
just north of Bonnie's Car.
Yeah, Bonnie Car Crusher is their neighbor to the south.
Okay. And Warner Road is to the south?
To the east.
To the
Runs
east?
northwest, kind of, yeah.
Oh, okay. Running parallel with 115?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, I'm with you now. Okay.
So, but other than that, if you have any questions.
Okay. So now the 4 parking spaces, would that be for ADA, or what would that be?
Well, ADA is required to be paved. This will be the total of the parking area adjacent to the office area, which is shown on there, just to the west there side of the property there. So there'll be 4, the handicap, along with 3 other additional parking areas being paved.
Okay, so 1 handicap and 3 others,
Right.
right? Okay.
Correct.
You're good with that?
Yes.
Okay.
I would think that the skirting on the homes would be normal because you want them to look like they're going to look when they're at a property.
Yeah, that's our intent. Actually, a lot of other dealers don't do that way. What they do is they try to stuff as many homes as they can onto one little lot, and they don't usually skirt them. I don't know if you've ever seen any of the other dealerships in the area, like Clayton, for example. I drove by there recently. They had a ton of unskirted homes, and I think it's kind of not a good sight. So I want to have skirted homes.
So are you going to skirt the whole thing? Because I think I'd want to look underneath too if I'm buying one.
Yeah, of course. So we're actually going to do that. We're going to skirt the front and leave the backs exposed because we
Okay.
also want to sort of educate our customers on what they're purchasing and what exactly goes into the project.
Okay. That makes more better sense. Had to do it, Brenda, sorry.
You know, Matt almost said that a few minutes ago, so you finally got it out there.
Okay, anybody have anything else?
No, not at this time.
Okay, this is a public hearing. I will open a public hearing. Does anybody in the audience have anything to say on this? Questions, comments?
Should I sit?
Going once, going twice? Yes?
Nope.
No? Okay, I will now close the public hearing. Okay. All right, any other questions, comments?
I do have another question for you.
Okay.
I would like to know just a little bit about a planned timeline. If we were to approve this, when would you be able to be set up and ready to go for sales, do you think?
We're aiming for October to be completely ready to go. The first phase of the project will begin in 2 weeks when my excavator gets back from vacation. So, and that first stage would be bringing the lot up and getting the septic system in. It's pretty minimal what we have to do. We've already got everything lined up as far as the homes. So, you know, the displays that we're going to be using. So we're hoping by October.
And you would be using one of the homes as an office, is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Anything else?
I don't know, let me see. Could you just address the lighting real briefly, please?
So we're going to have lighting on the exterior doors of every display unit as well as the office unit. I feel like that will be sufficient for the business hours that we're going to be operating. We're not going to be going there at night anyways. But I think we actually had this in the last meeting where it was a concern, and if that's not sufficient for the light, then we're happy to put more lighting up.
Okay.
Just for folks in the audience and TV here, we also have a whole lot of other questions, but they're answered in the Planning Commission meeting minutes, which we get. And so those guys are really thorough in the Planning Commission to ask a lot of questions, so we don't have to ask a lot of questions in here because they're already answered. So just to let folks know that's part of the process that makes it a little more simple for us, that those guys are so thorough.
I think I'm done.
Yeah, anyway, just thought I'd throw that out there. Okay, how about a motion?
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve this. I'm going to get on the right page. Hold on.
Oh, man,
I know it.
can't find good help nowadays.
Commercial Development Plan 18-003 for Home Nation. It's for, with these contingencies, and I believe that we need the contingencies that Matt mentioned, which was the letter from the Fremont County Department of Transportation for the driveway access permit, the letter from the county engineer dated 7/3, which addresses stormwater, correct?
Yes.
And the paving of the parking in front of the office and skirting of the 115 side facing, the 115 side of the homes that'll be facing 115. I said that all wrong, but the building, the side facing 115 to be skirted.
Okay,
Does this motion include dust suppressant application?
Yes, absolutely, with dust suppressant also. And then I guess I have a question before I finish this, Matt, on the waiver request, the hard surfacing. What is that exactly?
The regulations require that the driveway and the drive areas be paved as well, and so typically they ask for a waiver of that. They did ask for a waiver of that. Planning Commission recommended, well, fine, we waive everything but the parking space areas.
Okay. So to include dust precedent with the waiver request of the parking landscape, landscape and buffering plan, and the hard surfacing.
I'll second that.
Okay. All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner McFall?
Aye.
Commissioner Bell?
Aye.
Commissioner Payne?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
As you can
Good
tell,
luck.
there's no script here.
We wish
right?
you the very best of luck.
Good luck, and thank you for helping with affordable housing.
We need that.
Okay, moving on, we'll go back to our regular agenda and our new business. Approval of a grant agreement with Upper Arkansas Area Council of Governments for a shade structure at War Memorial Park. Sonny, would you address this?
Sure. So a few months ago, Commissioner McFall had actually brought in a application and suggested that we look at potential projects for some grant funds that were available. And so one of the things that we decided to do is out at the War Memorial Park, which is on Highway 50 there. We do have the In God We Trust, which is a design that all of the letters are actually in pennies. So if anybody's looked at it up close, each one of those is a penny, which represents somebody that was actually killed in the line of duty during the Vietnam War. And unfortunately, with the sun constantly shining on those, they're starting to kind of wear. And so we decided to put in a grant application to put a shade structure over those pennies to help expand the life of that display. And so that's what this grant is. It's a total, what we're looking at is a total of $4,000. It's $2,000 by grants, and then $2,000 would come out of our Conservation Trust funds.
Okay. Thank you for that explanation. Yeah, when we went through that refurbishing of those coins and those letters out there, we did okay until we took the word God out and had that refurbished, and oh man, did we catch the emails then. Anyway,
Yes, we did.
as a side note.
So as Sunny had mentioned, it's one of the really cool monuments out there because all of the pennies themselves actually are from the years that the war took place also. And they are suffering a little bit, and we think that getting them covered so that the sun no longer has that toll to take on them would be a really good thing. So with that, Mr. Chair, I move to approve the grant agreement with the Upper Arkansas Area Council of Governments for the shade structure at War Memorial Park, with the understanding $2,000 will be covered with the grants and the other $2,000 through Conservation Trust funds.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
No, just a note that maybe she mentioned it, but I didn't pay attention. It's kind of like a canopy that'll go over those. That'll just create some shade to protect them. So it'll be a nice addition.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bell?
Aye.
Commissioner McFall?
Aye.
Commissioner Payne?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, some housekeeping stuff here. Item number 3, a reappointment of Michael Pullen and Francis Williams to the Building Code Board of Appeals for terms ending August 1st, 2021. We do have their letters submitted. They would like to be reappointed. So, motion?
With that, Mr. Chair, with their letters and their interest, I move that we reappoint Michael Pullen and Francis Williams to the Building Code Board of Appeals, terms ending August 1st, 2021.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Commissioner McFall?
Aye.
Commissioner Bell?
Aye.
Commissioner Payne?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 4, rescheduling Tuesday, December 25th, 2018 Board of County Commissioner meetings to Wednesday, December 26th, 2018 at 9:30 a.m. Something to do with Christmas Day there.
I know that I will not be in the office on that day. So because of that, I do move to approve rescheduling the Tuesday, December 25th Board of County Commissioners meeting to Wednesday, December 26th at 9:30 a.m.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Bell?
Aye.
Commissioner McFall?
Aye.
Commissioner Payne?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And with that, no further business coming before this board. We are adjourned.
I actually do. I would like to do that.
I came out one time with the code enforcement guys, but that's been a couple years ago. Yeah.